welcome to the podcast.
Mm.
This is exciting.
It is.
The second professionally produced video podcast.
Is it?
Yeah.
This one.
Yeah.
Right.
And our second one of the week.
Our second of the week.
This is nuts.
It is.
Are we going to be professional podcasters in 2024?
Are we?
Are we?
Did you say?
Are we? Yeah.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. I feel like we're almost there.
Well, I guess I am there.
Yeah.
Making money off it.
Yeah, right. Yes.
Are you going to make money off yours?
I'd like to. I mean, yeah.
Or is it a lead?
Sorry?
Or is it a lead generator?
Both.
Yeah.
I think ultimately it's... The ultimate goal is to have it so big that one of those two things is happening.
Nice.
Realistically, for me, it's an important way for me to voice the things that I'm passionate about, but it's also an important way for me to, as I've said before, build authority in the space and find people who are struggling with similar things, and ideally put them in connection with myself so we can work on those things.
I love it. It's so cool. Since our first episode together, that one was a little bit more broad in scope. We talked about a lot of things.
Yeah.
Covered a lot of ground. I thought this one we could be a little bit more intentional,
Cool.
And specific with your business, right?
Yep.
Like I'm so stoked for you. I think this is awesome.
Yeah.
And it's something that I'm really passionate about. So it's good to sit down, do another episode, and do it in front of the cameras. So,
Absolutely. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
So tell us about the trajectory that you've been on since entering into the coaching world.
Yeah, so I guess the entering into it for me was at a turning point in my life where things had gone quite bad, and then I was like, right, okay, I really need to make changes here, and this is what it's going to look like. Part of that for me was selecting a niche and working out what it was that I really wanted to help people with specifically. I knew that I wanted to help people in overcome whatever obstacles they had in their lives, but I wasn't sure exactly what the best, I guess, what I would narrow that down to. And so I came into the relationship space because it was something that I did feel extremely passionate about and felt that I did have a lot of experience to add. In terms of trajectory, it was just about getting qualified, making sure that I did have, it was about making sure that I had the right systems, processes, structures in place to help people effectively, and that I wasn't just kind of flying blind. Once I got that done, it's just been about developing the marketing side of my business, which is effectively getting myself out there to the right people, and it's not my strong suit. I don't
really.
No, I don't enjoy. I mean, historically, when I've attended businesses and things, I have really enjoyed the marketing side of things, but when it comes to sales, I hate it.
Yeah,
and I think it's because it has always felt inherently deceptive, even though it's not. It is that you're effectively trying to convince someone to pay for something. And I guess maybe it's a bit of imposter syndrome, maybe it's a bit of not believing in yourself that leads to that for me. But as time's gone on, I have definitely got to a point now where I'm like, I know how much I have to offer. I've seen the results of people that I have helped so far, and the changes I can make in people in a very short period of time. And I look at that now and I go, there's a real value attached to that.
Absolutely.
And so it's just establishing what that value is.
Yes.
Because I would not like to, I want to make sure that I'm delivering an equivalent amount of value to what these people are paying.
Yeah. Or excess.
Yeah, or more.
Excess value.
Yeah. Yes. And I guess there's no way to, a lot of people when they go into business, they'll look at the competition, they'll look at what they're charging. I'll go, okay, I'll take the average of that, and then I'll price myself maybe just below that, and then we'll just see how that goes. But yeah, it's tough. I guess as you start, you can build more data and you can get a better idea of where you fit and what you're worth, and then that will evolve over time.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it is really easier to go that route, go that option of taking the aggregate of other operators and going beneath that to, rightly or wrongly.
Yeah.
But yeah, pricing and sales there too. Key issues that I think a lot of people struggle with, myself included. It's really quite wild, and we're not in the business of, say, selling, I don't know, a beer.
No.
Like that price range is relatively narrow.
Yeah,
coaching
right.
especially is quite broad, right?
That's so broad.
Yeah.
I was looking at other relationship coaches overseas who charge, for a 6-month or a 12-month package, 50 to 100K US.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm like, how many spaces do you have for that? I mean, also, how often do people take those packages? But they exist.
They totally exist. But it comes down to value though, right?
It does. If that person's delivering the value, I mean, this is the thing. With any coaching space, you look at, here's the obstacles, here's the goal, here's where I am now. And what price would you put on getting there?
Yeah.
And for a lot of people, that's
a big number.
How much money do you have?
Yeah.
Really, like if I think about some of the most challenging times in my life, especially dating, especially if I was repeating cycles, negative cycles over and over and over again, and I thought, like, this is the fifth relationship I've had now that has not worked, and it seems like I'm selecting the same kind of people. What the hell's going on? Someone said to me, I can change that, and I'll get you the relationship of your dreams. What's that worth to you? I'd pay what I had.
It's more than $20, right?
It's definitely more than $20. But you're right though, it's a sliding scale. I mean, it really depends on what people. Again, where's your market? How much do your market have to pay, and then how much is reasonable to expect, and then what are you going to charge?
There's some really good content available now on this psychology around pricing, and we can link some of those pieces below. But the essence is starting at one point, likely free to start, and then gradually ramping up based on, I guess, volume, but then also proof of concept.
Yes, everything has to, and it all feeds into itself. Eh?
Yeah. And then that gives you confidence, and then you can just gradually ramp up, right? And I think that's cool.
Yeah, it's necessary. You need to build those testimonials. You need to make sure that you have that social proof.
Yeah.
As well as authority in the space. And generally, to display authority in the space, you need the social proof.
Yeah.
So
they are.
It works hand in hand. And then you get high value clients. Those clients then rave about you. There's word of mouth. Everything happens, and then at that point you can start going, right, well, I can afford to charge more now.
Yes.
And I always think about it like a restaurant. I remember, Drexel's restaurant in Christchurch is always booked out. And I always think to myself, your prices are too low.
It's a good point.
It's always so booked out. Really, and they're not cheap, but they're also not as expensive as they could be. And that was one of the first lessons I learned in pricing, was that if the restaurant is always booked out, your prices are too low.
It's a good way to look at it.
To find that sweet spot where there's always just a few bookings available, you go, right, okay, now we're making that efficient amount of money.
And so to begin with, or for the next little bit of time for your business, are you envisaging one-to-one, or are you?
Yes.
Yep. Cool.
So I think every coach should start in a one-to-one fashion generally, and you can do group coaching and things like that as well in there. But from what I've learned is that those one-on-one interactions, they build your confidence working with clients one-to-one. And then from there, you can start doing group coaching sessions. You can do them online. You can do courses, online courses. And I'd like to offer different package deals for those one-on-one clients too, so that potentially, whether they are paying on a weekly basis or a monthly basis or a package basis, there's different perks to each level.
Yeah.
And that for there may be courses that have a value attached to them that are online, but if you do the 6-month or a 3-month package or something like that, you actually get access to all those courses anyway.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, I like that. What about with your marketing to date? Like I've been loving the NGL content, which I never knew what it stood for.
Do you know now?
Not gonna lie.
I think it is. I don't know. I've never heard it referenced. I've never heard the app reference it as not gonna lie, but NGL as an acronym is that. It always was. I mean, from what I understand.
Yeah.
I would assume that it's relevant and that you're not gonna lie when you're anonymous.
Exactly.
Generally.
And I guess given the subject matter, it is relevant to have an anonymity, I think.
Yes. Yeah. As you've pointed out too, hard to convert those people, but not that my focus with those is conversions. I think if they are interested in my services, they would contact me directly. Yeah. And to have that anonymous veil initially is probably quite important for a lot of them. These may be people that aren't necessarily willing to seek a counsellor out. they have looked at me answer other people's questions over a period of time and gone, that sounds relevant, or I can relate to that, or that was actually quite a good answer.
Totally.
And then have got to the point where they're like, well, it can't hurt for me to put my situation forward to it.
Yeah.
And I guess at that point, it shows other people who are watching as well, this guy has an opinion on this. It seems to be effective. Other people are taking his advice. So,
yeah.
Have
you had much flows through from the questions, people getting in contact directly?
Yeah. I would say it's very low at this point, but 5-10% of people that ask questions end up messaging me directly after I respond.
Yeah.
And say, hey, that was me. I really appreciate the response. Thank you. And then because often when they get a response that they like and they see it and they go, oh, actually, that makes total sense. I wish I'd thought of it that way.
Yeah.
They then have more questions or some of them feel like they want to give me some follow-up.
It's that third-party perspective.
It is, yes. Someone who's independent, but also a lot of them are people that I already know. Some of them are people that I don't know, but they effectively trust. The people that know me well enough to trust my opinion.
Yeah.
People who don't know me see that other people are trusting my opinion and kind of, they're like, well, yeah, I don't know him. I don't know him well enough. These aren't close friends that are asking me, because if I know that if I had close friends that had these issues, they'd come to me.
Yes.
So that they're normally people who are a bit further removed.
Yeah.
But it's surprising who they are sometimes.
Yeah.
Like if they message me directly, I'm like, oh wow.
Yeah. So that's one part of the marketing campaign / strategy / process to getting started.
Yep.
Once the website launches, that will be another interesting add-on to that equation.
Yes.
Won't it?
Yeah, and like in the coaching space too, I've heard a lot of people say that you don't need a website, which I disagree with, I guess, because your website is your business card. Effectively, it's a very comprehensive business card. It tells people what you do. It tells people a backstory, all these kind of things. And so once I have a website, or once my website has been launched, I'll focus a lot more on targeted ads.
Yeah.
And I'll really narrow down a niche, I guess, in those targeted ads. I'll be looking at building an online community. I'll be looking at building an online, increasing my online presence through following, sponsored posts and things like that on social media, and then also direct lead generation as well. Yeah.
Yeah. What are you going to use to build the community? Do you mean social media specifically, or groups, or?
Well, I run a men's group in person, but I think the majority of my business will be online.
Yeah.
I'd like to just get out there to the whole world effectively, and really focus on the people that I can help specifically that want a male's advice, whether that be women who want a male's advice or men who want a male's advice, for different reasons.
Yes.
There's a lot of women out there who would love to know how men think. And having been on both sides of both ends of the toxic spectrum, I feel like I have a lot of advice that I can add to women, especially when they're dating or navigating relationships, where I'm like, yeah, I think I can give you some insight in here into how men think. But also with men as well, just when it comes to dating advice and things like that, there's a specific part of my niche that I have to work out how to target. I think that's where it's going to come from.
How do you think you're going to package it in terms of, like relation? I remember on your website you had the 3 different components. What were they again?
So when it comes to relationship-focused coaching, I think and you're looking at intimate relationships, effectively, you've got dating, you've got maintaining the relationship itself, and then you've got dealing with breakups. So those are the 3 kind of areas where you're going to find the most pain points in people.
Yes.
I'd also like to offer services around negotiating the relationships with friends and family, but that is kind of off to the side a bit. I think most people who are motivated to speak to a relationship coach are really going to be looking at getting into relationships, maintaining them successfully, or just coping when they end.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of places where I'll be separating.
Yeah, I like that.
The services.
Yeah, and so therefore, would it be an ongoing retainer type arrangement? Do you feel? Or
so I thought about it, and I think most of the time within the coaching industry, people sell packages, and the packages I will get you from here to where you want to be. for this amount of money over this period of time. And I will offer that, and there'll be obviously perks that come with that as well, like a 100% money back guarantee if they're not satisfied at any point. But I'd also like to do a weekly retainer and a monthly retainer as well.
Yeah.
And again, at those price breaks, there'll be different perks and things that come with it.
Yeah.
Progress tracking, for example, might not be available in a weekly arrangement, but on a monthly or a package arrangement, of course, there's going to be progress tracking throughout it.
Yeah.
As in terms of if you were to pay for, say, a counselling appointment, you're literally paying for an hour of their time. Whereas if you are to pay for a weekly package with me, it's actually support throughout that whole week plus that hour with me.
Yeah, it's a totally different model.
It is, definitely. And it's you could go to like I said, when you can go to a counsellor, they'd hear you out. That's it. You walk away from there. They're not there for you again until your next appointment. This is more of a case of, right, if you make the payment on Thursday, you've got me from Thursday right through to the following Thursday. WhatsApp support, anything like that. Plus one weekly check-in. And then when you look at, say, monthly or 3-month packages, within there you could have things like emergency appointments. Maybe you get within a monthly package, you get one emergency appointment. It's a 30-minute session at any point.
Yeah, right.
You can call it in 24 hours notice or something like that.
Yeah.
And with a 3-month package, you might get 3 of those or 4 of those.
Yeah. I love it.
Yeah.
So good. Do you have goals around 2024 and financial metrics, client numbers, anything like that? You don't have to share them now.
I haven't even looked into that yet. No, I'd like to. I'd love to say to myself that I'd be doing, when you first get into this industry, you think to yourself, I could do, how many hours in a week have I got? 40, I could do 40 clients. Absolutely not.
No.
Like, if you think about 40 clients, it's not just 40 hours of your life that week. Right. There's each client's probably going to potentially take up 3 hours of your life that week. So I think I'd like to be doing between 10 to 15 clients on average over the year of 2024 per week, or have that on a permanent basis.
Yeah, gotcha.
And in terms of financials, I haven't really looked into it yet. I think the pricing's just going to evolve as I move forward. Yeah.
What has been the hardest part to date?
My time management.
Yeah.
Because I have so much on the go. I'm studying as well as like developing all this, plus having to produce content. And one of the biggest things I think was speaking with my videographer about, he mentioned workflows, and we talked about the podcast and how running my podcast would actually create a really good starting point for that workflow for producing content. And I realized that I hadn't been putting any energy or time into the podcast, really, which I should have, and doing that. So being able to do that and going, okay, that's actually solving a lot of my content problems was huge. Apart from that, I struggle with overthinking, and in anything that I do, I always stress initially that I'm not doing enough, or I'm not doing it efficiently enough, or I'm doing it in the wrong order.
Right.
And once I get over that hurdle, and once I push through, and once I start getting more familiar with the topic and I've retained enough, from there I'm actually a lot better at managing things. And then from there I overthink it less. And it's almost like I'm trying to retain too much to start with. And then as time goes on, I realize I don't have to retain as much. And then I realize I have retained a lot.
Yes.
And then I'm like, actually, I'm now at a point where I'm efficiently learning and building on building the foundation, first off, of getting into anything new for me is hard.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of self-doubt at that point. Is this going to work? Should I be doing this? But I've pushed through these things previously, and I've done all that. And so, yeah, I'm on the uphill side of that now. Like, I really have gone through the worst of it. And yeah, I guess understanding the industry was another one.
Yeah.
I'm a firm believer in following. I'm very scientific. So scientific method is important to me. I want to make sure that what I'm doing is proven, and it's proven to work. When it comes to coaching, because it's such an unregulated industry, it's very important that coaches thoroughly understand what they're doing, where the lines are they can and can't cross. And as much as I want to give people direct advice and things like that, I realize that sometimes I can't. So establishing those lines was hard for me as well, especially with my first few clients going, what can I say, what can't I say here?
Yeah, especially in terms of a personal relationship dynamic and the territory that you're entering into. It's not business, for example, which is typically a lot cleaner and a lot less wide ranging. You can really probably get into some dark type of chats.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, if you compare, say, business for yourself and relationship coaching for me, like if I give someone direct advice, I say to them, hey, look, this is your problem. This is what you've come to me with. This is what I think you should do. And they go away and they do it, and their relationship ends, or their partner commits suicide, or something like that. It's heavy, and could potentially be on me. So I have to be very careful about how I do that. And obviously, if you're trained as a counsellor or a psychologist or something, you've got that option to. Well, sorry, you're trained in what to say, what not to say, how much influence to have. In business, if you were to give someone direct advice and they went away and they lost their whole business, it's a similar thing. There's big things here at play, and I think that if we just have to make sure that when we're giving these people advice, we're so careful that I guess it's a client-led situation, that they are the one coming up with the idea, and that we're to bring those ideas out of them.
That's exactly it. Yeah. And that's what I guess the delineation is between coaching, consulting, advisory, mentoring.
Yeah,
right?
And there's a lot of pressure on mentors, I tell you.
Yeah, I guess so, but therefore they likely are in the right position.
They are.
They likely have been there, done that.
They've earned it.
Whereas with coaching, it's in my opinion anyway, it's largely around the quality of the questioning.
Yes, absolutely it is. Yeah.
And getting the client or the individual to work through things.
That's right. And there may be a point where it's appropriate. Just like for me, I've had a client recently where I looked at the situation, I said to myself, I think this person needs therapy.
Right.
And it's beyond me. But for me to then go and try and deliver cognitive behavioural therapy to this client would be not appropriate. And
no.
I'm not trained as a therapist.
No.
So for me to then direct her to a therapist is my job as a coach.
Totally. Yeah.
And I've done my job.
Yes.
That is it.
Absolutely.
And sometimes it's a case of maybe the money you're spending with me could be better spent with a therapist.
Totally.
And then she's going to get the right result, and I've done my job.
100%. Yeah, I had someone reach out to me, and we did meet up and go through the process, but it turned out that she had some challenges that were well and truly beyond my scope of ability. And so it was one of those situations where it's like, I mean, I'd like to work with you. I feel like I could add value, but also I think you're probably better suited towards someone with more specialized.
And that's right. And that's where you can direct them to a mentor who has the experience. And then again, your job as a coach is done, and you've got her. Effectively, if your business succeeds from there, you've been instrumental in that success.
That's right. That's right. But then, even just thinking about something that happened last night, I had somebody that is not a client yet. Hopefully they will be. Yeah. But they were talking about sending out a proposal, or following up on a proposal. They'd sent it, but they hadn't followed up. And I'm like, just call them. Just see if they've got it.
Yeah, right. Yeah, try.
And it's like, trying to weasel out of it.
Yeah.
Look, what's the worst that could happen here?
Yeah. And that's your job.
And he, I just left it to him. Yeah. Left him to it. And he did call in the end. And they confirmed a part of the proposal, right? So he has got validation that he can back up and do those hard things. Yes. And he has, got himself a new client. Yeah. Would he have got it otherwise? Probably, but it's a good muscle to grow.
Absolutely. You've identified a fear and a limiting belief. You've effectively encouraged him to confront that. He's confronted it. He's got a positive result. So regardless in the future, he's probably more likely to confront those negative emotions.
Totally.
Because he's seen a reward.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so satisfying getting that call from him.
I bet,
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And
definitely,
that's why I feel like I'm in the right space with this, because I'm just through my experience, I've been through so many different businesses and mental barriers to break through. Both working with other coaches, but also just figuring out my own self. Yep. And I guess you develop this toolbox over the years, right? You get an arsenal of things that you can pull out when the timing's right.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Isn't it great too when you've pulled those things out before and you're confident in their delivery and everything? You're just like, this has worked. This has worked.
Yeah.
This is just trust me.
100%. Yeah. And I think some of those things are more practical or more specific than others, like some of them are more like time and calendar management. It's a classic type problem that people struggle with.
Yeah.
Especially at the maybe beginner to medium stage.
Yeah.
I think that is typically where it's at.
Absolutely.
I think once people get to a certain level, they seem to have mastery over that.
Yeah, they've made all the basic mistakes. So.
Yeah, and there's team and there's different resources behind them. But
yes, yep. Yeah, absolutely. I had a friend who came to me with for advice recently, and just I said, right, tell me what the problem is, and she spent 20 minutes talking, and I didn't say anything, and by the end of it, I was like, I should have taken notes. Like I really did, because there was so many irrational and limiting beliefs that I could identify in there,
right?
And just her way of speaking and everything. I was like,
you can tell a lot by someone in the way they speak.
I was like, so much of this needs to change. Just the way that you're speaking, even just as something as simple as he made me feel in it, or you're making me feel it.
Right.
No one's making you do anything.
That's right.
And how you deliver that will get you a different result completely. If you say to someone, you're making me, they get defensive immediately. I'm not making you do anything. And I think, again, it just comes down to, for her, it's all new to her. And once she masters those things, suddenly she sees the benefit of it, and then she's like, oh, actually, I can have better relationships here. This stuff works.
Totally.
Yeah.
It's a sword sharpening exercise as well, don't you find? Like the more sessions, the more interactions you have, the more meta knowledge you get, and the wider your skill set becomes.
Definitely, yeah.
I know I've noticed that lately.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
What would you say to someone right now that's in a relationship and maybe isn't going 100% well?
What would I be saying to them? There'd be a few more questions, I'd say. How do you define, what makes you feel it's not going 100%?
Yeah, nice.
So that would be my first question. How do you define 100%? How do you measure that? And I would say, and then they would open up on that expands it and say, I feel like this is happening, and this is happening, and this is happening. And say, well, what would you rather be happening? I'd rather it was this, and this. And say, well, what do you feel is stopping that happening on these things? Well, what resources do you have at the moment to change that? Well, I can do this, and this. So what's stopping you doing this, and this?
Yeah.
It's and you get down to the feelings especially. How do you feel when this happens? Okay. Does it remind you of another time when you felt like that? When was that?
Right. Yeah.
These kind of things. And so establishing those kind of things, and then working out how they all work together, and then going, okay, using the resources you have. You've told me you feel like this. Reflecting back to them, what's going on for them, and then going, right, what do we need to do to get you to there? It's not a case of me saying, do this. It's a case of I'm going to make sure you do what you said you're going to do.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, that's actually a really good point too, because although I'm a business coach primarily, of course other areas bleed into the business.
They do. Yeah.
For example, I had someone recently that was in a challenging relationship, and so I just challenged them to maybe have a conversation that was being put off, being procrastinated on
with their partner.
Yeah,
right. Yeah,
and so the outcome was that they did it, and it felt better, but without that little bit of accountability, they probably would have procrastinated on it. So,
and those conversations need to happen. Like with the partner, it needs to happen if he or she had been feeling that way for a long time.
Yeah, I think it's a really good point that we kind of know what we need to do, and we often know that when you get that niggling feeling in the back of your brain.
Yeah, I think I might have said this to you on our podcast recently. But I had a friend who came to me and said that she had some stuff happening at work. A guy had been effectively quite forward with her, was messaging her, not inappropriate, but on that line where, you don't know whether to address it as sexual advances or not, because it's clearly more than just normal interaction, but it's also not rude. So she didn't know how to deal with it. And I said to her, well, how does it make you feel? Are you interested in her? She's like, no, I'm not interested in it at all. Okay. So how does it make you feel? She's like, it makes me feel uncomfortable. So, okay. And what are your big concerns here? She's like, well, it's not professional. I said, okay. So how would you do it? And she was quite animated when she was saying that, and she said it in a more words I won't necessarily repeat here, but I said to her, can you deliver those things to me in a neutral way? So say them as you would if they were just neutral, like talking about, say it was a family member that was making you feel that way, someone you respected. She was like, well, I'm not interested. It makes me uncomfortable, and I'm concerned it's not very professional.
Yeah.
I said, well, why don't you tell him that?
Easy.
And she was like,
shit.
Oh. She thought that makes so much sense.
Yeah.
I said, yeah, absolutely. That's all you need to say.
Totally.
Then I said, you're not going to get in trouble at work. These things aren't going to affect you negatively. What are you afraid? What are you afraid to say that to him? She's like, no. I said, well, that's completely reasonable, healthy, and fair to say that to him.
Yeah.
You make me not you make me uncomfortable, but when you this situation is making me, I feel uncomfortable. It's not professional, and just I'd rather you didn't contact me this way.
Yeah. And did she follow through?
I don't know.
Don't know.
I'll find out.
Don't know the outcome.
Yeah. I will.
It's like that meme with the guy that wants graphic design done for the nightclub flyer or something. Have you heard that one?
No.
Like the client or the restaurant owner calls the designer or messages them like, hey, I need a poster design for this event that's coming up. He's like, okay, sweet. When is it? Cool. Friday night. Okay, how much is it? Sweet. Who's playing? Sweet. And then he just screenshots that conversation.
Right.
So there you go.
Oh, yeah.
Point is that we all kind of know what we need.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
But often it gets overcomplicated.
It does. Yeah, and sometimes the delivery is what we're concerned about, really.
Yeah, and that does carry a lot of weight, don't you think?
It does.
The delivery and the tonality, like the non-verbal.
Well, especially in the case of the graphic designer, for example. I mean, if you were to ask your average graphic designer, they'd make you up an ad, but then if you were to ask Banksy, it would probably be something completely different, but it would get such a result.
That's true.
And so your delivery is very important, obviously, depending on what it is. But in the relationship sense, it's just got to be healthy.
Yeah.
Fair. Whereas in business, you can get creative.
That's true. Yeah. I feel like the NGL link, the ability to interact with you at a very non-committal way, I think.
Yes.
Do you think you'll continue doing that as part of the... Yeah.
It will never stop.
Yeah.
I'd love to... NGL's good because it creates a... almost a third-party guaranteed anonymity, but I would love to have it so that people could anonymously message me more thorough replies.
Right, gotcha, yeah.
Because I would hate for the app to disappear and then I suddenly can't do it. I think eventually what I would do is I would be, if I had 100,000 followers, I'd just be asking people to ask me questions, and I'd be taking people, and they would honestly just probably have to ask me and put their name to it. I wouldn't share the details.
No.
But I would have the ability to capture them as a lead.
Yeah,
potentially.
And interact with them.
And interact with them and everything like that. I think it'd then come at a point where the anonymous stuff was far less frequent. The link maybe would exist and it would sit there, but I would answer them when I got a chance, or I would just answer the ones that were different or new. Yeah. I think at the moment it serves such a good purpose for the ability to effectively capture problems and solve them publicly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
At least help solve them publicly.
Yeah, I mean, I've always thought of it as a platform or a tool that wouldn't be relevant for me, but then even just as we're talking, it's like, maybe I've got a question that I want answered. Well,
that's it's really how many people out there have questions about their businesses that they may not want people to know. You might have the CEO of Coke jump on your page and go, mate, we're struggling. Sprite sales are down. What do I do? But there'll be people out there who who may not want you to know
True.
that they're struggling.
Yeah.
I mean, I some of these questions that I have received, I listen to them and I go, who out of the people I do know could this be?
Right. Yeah.
And I don't give it too much thought because I don't really want to speculate, and I don't need to know. It's actually better I don't. Because my ex-partner, for example, could have asked a question.
Yeah, it's right.
And if it was her that asked, I know that my response would be biased. But I treat them all as neutral.
Yeah.
I effectively treat these as people I do not know. And some of them will be probably people that I do know quite well. But again, I might have given them a different response. If I knew their situation, I might know who their partner is. I might know their habits. You know, if it was someone who I knew that I was like, this guy is a prolific cheat, and he asked me a question about, you know, what to do about something like this, my response, inevitably, I would give him a response based on what I know about him. I couldn't help it.
No,
honestly.
That's right.
And so I think it's good having that anonymity, but in your case, there will be people, I think, that you can do it. And it's just going to be about testing the waters, finding out.
Yeah. Yeah. It's an interesting one. What was I going to say? Don't know.
Right.
Lost.
It is. Sorry, I probably took it off on a bit of a tangent.
No, that's all right. It's to be expected. Yeah.
It is, yeah.
What are you struggling with at the moment, personally?
Time.
Other than time management, like, is there anything you're procrastinating on? Is there anything that you know you need to do, and despite being busy, you just aren't doing?
It's my study. I'm putting my study off to the last minute.
Yeah.
Just assignments, effectively, because I'm excited, I guess, about the career prospects and everything that comes with coaching. I'm really transitioning into it, and I love it. So it's taking a lot of my time. I'm also still very focused on networking, even locally networking. So opportunities to do things like this.
Yeah.
They are high on my priority list, even though there may be other tasks that I need to get done. The stuff happens. It does come first. And in terms of procrastination, I think it's the organisation of the things that I need to do. It really doesn't. I don't know if I'm doing things as efficiently as I could be.
How do you plan out your weeks/month? Is it pretty ad hoc or? Yeah.
I effectively follow the same routine and work on either content production or I'm building my own website at the moment, so that's happening in the mornings. Yeah, it's between the two.
Yeah.
But at the moment, it's been a lot of content production stuff recently, but I'll have to switch into next week's going to be a lot of study.
Yeah, I was going to say, is the study scheduled? Are they set classes or is it more assignment based?
It's assignment based. They're scheduled at certain times. I've got a total of like 8 assignments due between now and February.
Yeah.
And they come every 3 or 4 weeks. So I'll just chip away at them, but there's still deadlines. So effectively they get left to the last minute. I do the coursework,
right,
get that out of the way, then I focus back on content production, then I'll do the assignment in the final week.
Yeah. Can you change it up a little bit and just set yourself some minimum times that you spend per day on the assignments, just so that it doesn't get stockpiled to the very last minute?
I think I tell myself that it's hard for me to chop and change between different types of tasks.
Yeah.
But I do that all day anyway.
Yeah, so like with me and my flying, for example, the aviation study.
Yeah.
It's something that I don't find naturally easy.
No.
And so therefore I've set myself in the past half an hour to work on it. Airplane mode on.
Yeah.
No distractions.
Airplane mode. How good?
How good? Game changer.
No, but I mean, like, how relevant?
Oh, relevant. Yeah. Ironic. But that's helpful.
Yeah.
So, I think, as I say, go back to the toolbox analogy. What can you do to try and circumvent that last minute pressure? Unless it works and it's not stressful, then that's fine.
It's pressure. It's stressful in those days.
Yeah.
Those final days, it's definitely stressful. I think probably the best thing I could do would be to just, give myself 2 hours a day at the moment, an hour a day minimum of study time. Pretty find that it would definitely take the pressure off towards the end of that period. I'd have most of the assignment done.
Yeah.
Because I honestly, I fly through the coursework.
Right.
I fly through it, and then the assignments are related, but they're not directly related to the coursework. You know, it's kind of, you do your own stuff as well. So I can probably get 70% of the assignment done well before its due date, and then just whip out the last 30% in those final days, rather than having to do the whole thing in those final days.
Yeah, I think if you can create those types of frameworks so that it's not so stressful. It still might be a little bit stressful, but you know, like the gym, there's positive stress, right?
Yes.
Positive pressure that helps you get shit done. Yeah,
that's right. I think another thing I struggle with too is, because at the moment I'm getting myself immersed in the culture or immersed in the whole thing of coaching, and I really want to be good at what I do. It means at the moment I want to be good at, say, building authority on socials. So I put a lot of energy to that, but I also want to be really good at generating leads. So I start thinking about what I'm going to have to do to generate leads.
Right.
So I start listening to audiobooks and things on that, and I start thinking about advertising, and then I'm like, so I want to be really good at actually coaching. So then I start listening to audiobooks on the coaching practices and what to ask and how to get the best results and everything like that. So, but I'm thinking so many steps ahead that, like, even now I'll get ideas about, I wonder if I could advertise like that. So then I start looking up Facebook advertising strategies when I really should be, no, you're not there.
Totally. Yeah.
You know? So I think maybe a good way of doing it for me would be to actually categorize those things and then work out the order of priority, and then decide when I'm going to start focusing.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, that's, you know, how a lot of the coaching sessions that I run are broken down into 90-day chunks. So you can visually see what's happening in January, February, March, and then subsequently throughout the year.
That would be really effective, I think.
Well, it's just like, I'm a visual person. So for me to see the goals and the, hopeful outcomes that will occur from those tasks, it's just helpful. And I think it helps, distill down to a more granular level as well. So you've got your quarterly goals, but then also, like, what does that look like on a weekly basis? What does the calendar look like, you know, and using color coding and things like that to make it so visual, so that you're just like decreasing the chance of failure.
Definitely.
Yeah. Because I'm like you in a way that, you know, I love getting distracted with stuff, but I just, at the moment, I can't. Like,
I know.
There's just too much like that. It's just not an option.
I know. I'm having to use my calendar now to a level I've never had to use it previously.
Yeah. And saying no is a great answer.
Yes.
Like saying no to stuff. Like, I've really become aware of that and trying to build that muscle.
I know. I've had to as well. I think it would be, understanding the calendar better and everything is probably going to be really good for me. I find as soon as I forget to put an appointment in, or I don't do this, I don't do that, then suddenly the calendar becomes meaningless. and then I stop using it. Or I'm like, oh, it's probably not up to date anyway, I won't even bother. But that's such a bad thing. Like, I really have to force myself now to, if I've just made an appointment, I literally hang up the phone, put it in my diary.
100%.
Immediately. Don't put it in, pull the car over.
No, for sure.
Well, literally, I have to. If I don't, it doesn't get put in there.
100%.
So, it is. Hang up the car. Hang up the phone.
Don't hang up the car.
No. Pull the car over. And what was that appointment? But and this is the problem. I'll pick my phone up and then I'll go to Instagram and then I'll be like, hang on, what appointment was I putting in?
And I'm battling with this stuff too. But, that's for me, like, why I've been ironically talking about Instagram use on Instagram, but it's because I'm trying to nail it and get to a point where I'm not spending 3 hours a day on there.
No.
Like, that's not a good use of time for where I'm at, you know? And it's not to say it's the wrong thing for other people, but I had a chat with someone that, they've done well business financially, and they're like, I had to delete it. Like, I couldn't handle it. I was looking at the screen time and seeing how much time I was spending, and
mine's going to be tough because a lot of my business is going to be on Instagram.
It is, but I think that's also a excuse to go on there and to delve into. Well, like, I hear what you're saying.
It means I'll thoroughly understand it. I guess, like, you can be in the business of owning a casino. It doesn't mean you're down there gambling.
Great analogy.
You know? What we like with our analogies.
Yeah.
But really, like, that's it. You own the casino, you understand it thoroughly.
Yeah.
And I guess too, when you understand the ins and outs of algorithms and everything that's going on with Instagram well enough, you know that your clients effectively and everyone that you're trying to appeal to is in the system just like you are, and then that you can manage that and you go, right, I help everyone's in my system effectively, but whose systems am I in?
Yeah. Well, it's like that saying, and it might have been on the Social Dilemma, it was like, if you're not paying for something, you are the product. Something.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
And I mean, my thoughts are in line with that documentary, and that we are not capable of outsmarting it. No. There's too much brain power and tech and money going into keeping you on there.
Yeah, that's right. I remember hearing something on there about like, you're talking to the screen, but behind the screen is just psychologists and tech.
Totally.
It's super intelligent.
Totally.
Like, you don't see it. We don't see it.
So I found that for me, I've moved to the 4th page of apps. I've deleted any notifications, so there's not even any badges or anything.
Yeah.
And I've just started migrating my communication to text message now. So if it's like work related or I still use Messenger, but just trying to
it's a really good
outgame the system. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because checking notifications, my phone is permanently on silent, and my watch vibrates when I get a message or whatever. But like, I've had to change all sorts of things. Even OneDrive's trying to tell me that there's memories from this.
Yeah.
So to turn all those notifications off.
Yeah,
like, don't you tell me what to look at?
No.
The problem is that, and this is the way that a lot of places I think are going to end up getting people in, is like, so for example, at my gym, Anytime Fitness, they have migrated, they've changed their key card access. They've upgraded them to new key card access panels that will eventually work with your phone.
Right, gotcha.
Fantastic, how convenient. I don't have to carry around keys anymore. I don't have to have my keys there. Everyone's got their phone on them. But what does that mean? It means you have to download their app.
Yeah.
Right? And then when you download their app, suddenly you have to have your notifications enabled.
And location probably.
And location, but then they can send you notifications or whatever they want.
Yeah.
So that's the thing.
It's another thing to turn off.
Yeah, that's it. If you want to, there's quite a few apps that are like this. If you want to, I don't know, obviously you want notifications on for Uber Eats because want to know when your driver gets there. You have to.
Yeah.
Meet them on the street.
Yeah.
But what happens if you want to turn off the notifications about get $5 off your next order?
Yeah. It's a good point. It's a good point.
They don't give you that access to do that. No. So you are a slave to and no one can be fucking bothered.
No.
Going in there and turning notifications on and off between the times that they use the app.
Yeah.
Just won't do it.
Yeah.
So what do? You go, I'll put up with the $5 one, but they've got you. They can send an ad directly to your phone whenever they want to.
Yeah.
And it will come up just like a text message.
Yeah.
I get $5 off my next order. And it all takes a second, but you've seen it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think like a lot of things, it's just having conscious awareness and working towards being better.
Yes.
Working towards optimization.
Yes.
And probably realizing that you're never going to nail it. Like there's no such thing as perfect with it.
No, that's right.
No.
Yeah, it's and also it's dynamic too. It changes as time goes on. I think the more followers I get and the more on Instagram I am, the less I want to be on there.
Yeah. Well, I think using the desktop Instagram's a great option as well, right?
Yes.
If it is for communication.
Can you post to it?
No, maybe. Yes, you can. Yeah.
You didn't used to be able to, eh? Yeah. Until you could.
But just I guess even just having conversations like this is really good because it does bring to the forefront what problems are out there.
Oh, 100%. And they are, again, dynamic too. They're evolving.
Yeah.
Ones are popping up all the time.
Yeah, dynamic.
Yeah. There's that word. I love it.
I think you've only used it once, so it's not bad.
Yeah.
Hey, that's really good. I appreciate that, Josh.
It's all right.
I think we've got to wrap it up.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts, comments, suggestions, buzzwords that you'd like to include?
I think what you're doing is very dynamic. No, I love what you're doing. I think this is fantastic. And it's been awesome. Both the last time we did the podcast on getting jacked.
Yeah.
And also having you the other day was awesome.
A lot's evolved, right, in the last few months. It's crazy.
It has, and I love the direction both of our podcasts are taking.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah, it's exciting.
It's nice to be able to share that with you as well, and that we started effectively at the same time on two different roads, but then where the journey is the journey. You know,
yeah.
Multifaceted.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah. It's going to be an exciting year next year, I think.
Well,
seeing what happens when we do a recap episode.
Yeah.
If not before then, but in December 2024, to see where we're both at.
Definitely. Oh, that'll be, I think a lot will have changed.
So fascinating.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Beautiful. Cool. Thanks again.
No worries.
See you back next time.
Sounds good.
Ron Burgundy signing off.
That's good.
How good.